What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Flash, Season 7, Episode 1, All's Wells That Ends Wells. Bit of a tongue twister, but, yeah. Just when I thought I was going to go into this season and be like, The Flash is just done, I'm not going to enjoy it anymore, last season was so bad. I'm not saying it's all great, but, God, this episode was good. I'll start off with the stuff that's not as good, and unfortunately, it is the stuff that looks like it's going to be continuing on after this episode. And that has everything to do with Eva, everything to do with Iris. Just, unfortunately, not that interesting. With Iris, it seemed like maybe they were building up something interesting, because she started seeing all these different versions of her. I thought they were trying to show, okay, the longer you're in this mirror dimension and the more that you try to search for your way out, it starts to break you down, it starts to wear your mind down to the point where you crack. And that's why Eva is crazy now. Nope. It's apparently Eva because she's so scared of Iris, guys. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't have a problem with Iris, but it feels like the show started getting bad when it started focusing on trying to make Iris a huge deal. Like, oh, she is a super powerful part of the team, guys. Like, she's just as good as everybody else. She's good. She's a good team leader. She's good at organizing. I think she does that very well. She's good at being behind the computer and really helping the team kind of make not necessarily the technical decisions, because she doesn't understand all that, but the tactical decisions. She's very good at figuring out how everybody can utilize their powers. When they tried to turn her into a field agent, that's when the show as a whole, I feel like, started going downhill, because I've never seen her as that. And even here, she's trapped inside this mirror dimension by Eva, and yet for some reason she's still a threat, guys. Ooh, be scared of Iris, Eva. She's coming for you. What? I don't know. Because I just watched the first few episodes of Superman and Lois, the reason why I feel like that works for me is because Lois, she's a good reporter. She's good at investigating. She's good at digging deep and getting the answers and seeing through all the BS that people are trying to throw at her. But when things get dangerous, she also has Superman to come and save her, because she can't fight those guys. Iris, it feels like the show writers want her to be able to fight those guys. She shouldn't be able to. She's still just a human. And that's not saying anything bad about Iris. That's just the truth of it. Humans should not be able to take on metahumans. That shouldn't be the case, and yet it feels like for Iris it is the case. So many times where she wins those fights, or she survives those fights, and she shouldn't. It should be, yes, she could be a good reporter, she can be good at snooping, investigating, all of that, but then when it comes to fighting, that's where Barry is useful and can help her out. But it feels like the show doesn't want to do that. They want to show that Iris can handle it by herself and doesn't need anybody else's help. And, I mean, I get you're trying to go for a message there, but it really is unrealistic. And it kind of takes me out of the show whenever they have those moments. So, very disappointed with that. As far as Eva is concerned, all of a sudden now apparently she's a duplicate, which, again, could be interesting if you didn't make her out to be such a villain. Like, if she were sympathetic, I would probably feel for this a little bit more. But the fact of the matter is, you showed that she's evil. Like, so many moments where, as soon as she was found out by Iris, it went from the so scared and just, no, I don't know what's going on, and Iris finds her out and she's like, well, okay then. I guess now it's time to reveal my true self. And as soon as you do that, now she's just full villain. And she kind of loses sympathy after that. She kidnapped Iris on purpose because she wanted to use her. She wanted to get close to the Flash and the team and figure out what's going on there. She gets out, she kills her husband. She's about to blow up the city. Or not blow up the city, but essentially blow up a plane, which would rain down all of this stuff and kill a ton of people. This is all before she finds out that she's actually the mirror duplicate. The real her died. That could be kind of interesting if that's what pushes her down this crazy villainous path. But she's already headed down the crazy villainous path. So what is this going to do? Make her even more crazy? Like, it has an interesting premise if you didn't already make me think, okay, well, I don't really care about her because she's just the villain. So, unfortunately, that seems to be what the main plot is going to be this season, is she's the villain Iris is going to try to get out of the mirror dimension by herself because I guess Barry's just, he's not that important, guys. I know the show is called The Flash, but let's be real. It's about Iris and her getting out of the mirror dimension this season. Barry's just going to sit there and go, why can't I have Iris back? Because he's just a man, and men suck. That's what it, I mean, obviously, probably a little bit over the top, but it kind of feels like what they're saying with some of these lines. The stuff with Cecile? Why do I always forget her name? Celine, Cecile, one of those two, I'm pretty sure. I don't know why her name just is, it doesn't stick in my head. It's probably because I've heard both of those names used before, and so I can never remember which one it's supposed to be. But her story as well was kind of dumb in this one. Like, she's now able to use her empath powers to essentially give people what she's feeling, which is kind of interesting. But the way it gets found out, with this top girl, really dumb. She starts questioning her. The girl's like crying. She's like, oh no, he's my boyfriend, he died, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as she figures out this tiny little piece of information, she's like, wait a minute. It's almost like you're projecting fear. But you'd only do that if you knew I was an empath and you knew I could feel what you're feeling. And all of a sudden this girl's just whole demeanor goes from, oh, well then, I guess you figured me out. Let me tell you my whole plan and allow me to purse my lips all the time. Like, it's just, her acting suddenly got stupid funny bad. And I'm sitting there going, why? Why do you all of a sudden have to put on this, like, stereotypical villain persona once she figures out a tiny, like, she didn't even really figure anything out. She just had the suspicion that maybe I'm an empath and you're projecting that feeling, and then she just goes full villain. And again, not only just that, she explains her whole deal. Like, oh no, he wasn't even the one in charge, I was the one in charge, and whenever Eva came to me, well, I believed in her cause, so I sold him out so he could die. I'm just the best. You didn't have to tell her any of that. And yet she did. And she even tells her about the whole, what she can do with her powers. And that gives Celine, whatever her name is, it gives her the idea to try that herself. And that gets her to give up the information. So, I don't know. Again, probably because I just watched Justified, or I started rewatching Justified for the second time, really. I remember enjoying it when I was younger. But the writing in that show is so good, and they do such a good job of, the bad guys, if they give away information, it's because they're stupid. Some of the bad guys are not all there. And so most of the time, the interchanges, the dialogue, either they give up information on accident because they're too dumb to realize it, or Raylan figures out what's going on because he's that smart. He sees through the lies they're trying to sell him. In the CW shows, it feels like if they want the good guys to get information, either the bad guy just has to spill it for some weird reason. Like in this one, it's, oh, yeah, you figured out that I knew you were an empath? Well, I guess you figured me out then. Or whatever, Carver? Whatever his name was last season, whenever Joe accused him of trying to kill him, and he was like, I didn't tell that guy to jump out of a box and kill you. What? Who says that? All he said was, you sent that one guy after me, and then all of a sudden you detail exactly what you told the guy to do. Hello? So, yeah, sometimes the writing can be really bad just because they don't know how to progress the story, and so they have to give the good guys some way of progressing the story. But all that being said, that's the bad stuff. The good stuff is, of course, everything to do with Nash and Barry and all of the Wells in this one. And it's because they allowed the two best actors on the show to showcase that. Grant Gustin, I've said for a while, his acting carries a lot of this show. When the show got bad, when the show did some stupid stuff, I still felt what he was feeling because he is so good. And having to pretend to be all these different Welleses just allowed him to flex even more what a good actor he is. And obviously Tom Cavanaugh, from the beginning, having to play all these different versions of Wells, he's been such a good character. And every single time, every new Wells that was brought on the show, it was always so much fun to see what they were going to be like. So because of that, getting rid of all of the Welleses, it is a sad moment, and the way they did it, it was so well written, so well done, so well acted. It got me. I wasn't like bawling, but man, I was tearing up. I felt choked up. It was painful. And this is what good acting is. This is what it can do. It can make you feel what the characters are feeling in the moment. And honestly, it's been a while since I feel like The Flash has gotten a chance to show that. Probably not since the end of season 5, whenever they lost Nora. That was probably the last time that I truly felt something for this show and like truly felt the emotion as deeply as I did here. So, yeah, very well done. Bravo to both Tom Cavanaugh and Grant Gustin for that just that final scene, all of these moments with all the different Welleses. Yeah, it was great. It was fantastic, and it brought the emotion out. Allegra and Chuck. So first of all, seeing that, I'm going to call him Chuck just because I feel like Chester, I don't know why. Chester's kind of a dumb name to me. But Chuck, when I saw he was still here, I was a little worried because I remember not really liking his character last season. To be fair, his acting in the played down scenes is pretty good. I think it's whenever he's trying to be goofy that I get annoyed with him. Like whenever Barry is changing into all the different Wells and he's just sitting off to they keep cutting back to his reaction. He's all of those reactions and his uppity voice, like, oh, here we go. Like, those are the moments when he gets on my nerves. Whenever he's just being normal, like at the end, whenever he's talking to Barry about what happened with Nash and, Allegra is there as well. Honestly, that scene was really well done between the three of them. Allegra, for the most part, she's just kind of, she does okay. I would say probably on the same level as, Caitlin, Cisco. Like, she's... Cisco, I will say, he's more funny than most of the other people. But acting-wise, there's, Grant Gustin, Tom Cavanaugh, Candace Patton, I think. Those three definitely top the list for me. Everybody else kind of sits somewhere here in the middle, and then way down here you have whoever plays Amunet Black, because she's awful. So Allegra, I would say, is in that little mid group, though. She does okay, but nothing truly, fantastic. But Chuck, when he's not being goofy, I would say is in that level, too. He has those moments where he can be real, he can just be himself, it feels like. So hopefully we don't have too many of those, goofy, over-the-top, because I know he joined the team, when he joined the team, he was a streamer, so it feels like sometimes that personality starts to show itself, and that's when I get annoyed, because I don't really like the over-the-top goofy streamers. They kind of get on my nerves. But yeah, all in all, it was a good episode. I am worried that because the best part of this episode is done, with Wells being gone, I am worried that now there won't be a whole lot for me to enjoy. But we'll see. See what happens next. But yeah, on to episode 2. I'll see you there. Now, episode 2, The Speed of Thought. So, pretty interesting episode, and it's kind of funny because what was going through my mind throughout most of this episode is thinking, so in the last one, they allowed Grant Gustin to show just the full force of how much emotion he can really draw out with his acting. And then they flipped the script in this episode. They're like, all right, take a break. You don't have to show any emotion at all. You get to be robotic for this one. Have fun with it. I don't know, just really funny to me. But yeah, I mean, an interesting thought, him getting the speed thinking and all of that, and how it turns him basically more and more, or well, I guess less and less human in the process, more and more robotic in a way. Yeah, I mean, it was done well, seeing everybody kind of be like, no, that's not okay, and seeing how the logical, rational thinking started basically making him decide, you know what, we're not going to take this chance because there's a slight chance that this could be damaged. I will say, I don't know, that scene for me, it would have made more sense if the chance was higher. Like if it was 12% that it could be damaged. The fact that it was 0.00002%, for me, even logically thinking that could possibly happen, it's such a small percent that just, you know, like when he was deciding this is the one that this is the black hole site they'll probably hit, there's like a 97.6% chance. Logically, okay, well, it makes sense that that's the best place to go. So in that moment, instead of, you know, letting her get hit by the thing, if there's such a small decimal percentage that you might damage this thing, that's how can you say that's not worth the risk? Like that's where I felt like, I don't know. It felt like they should have made that percentage just a little bit higher, just so it makes sense why the logical side of his brain said no, don't go save her, because you can save her later. It just for me personally, I feel like it would have made more sense in that case. But whatever the case, you know, seeing how he just continues to travel down this path of some people are expendable if it means getting Iris back, who can help us defeat Eva. Seeing how he, you know, uses the video to basically show everybody who this Eva really is. Granted, again, I'm still not that interested in her, mainly because, again, this would be kind of an interesting story if she wasn't already a crazy psychopath. But she was already there. So Barry doing this, they even say it. It's like, you're going to turn a crazy murderer into a more crazy murderer? Exactly. Like, if she was not this crazy, if she were more sympathetic, this storyline could be more interesting and more meaningful. But as it is, I don't really care about her as a character. So this whole, like, descent into madness, which she was already there. For me, it feels like it falls flat. So yeah, we'll see where all of that goes. It's kind of interesting to see that Barry actually does accomplish his goals at the end. Because I kind of I had the speed thinking for this episode because I kind of predicted where this was going to go. You know, even Cisco said at one point, you can't predict emotions. So I figured he was going to win. He was going to get the chance to save Iris, and then she was going to say, no, we need to save these two because they need it. You know, they're in rough shape. And so I thought that would kind of be the point where he'd realize, wait, I didn't predict this, and stop himself. But instead, he goes through with it. He does get her through the portal. And not only does that mean Singh and Camilla are basically near death on the other side and no way to get them out now, but also Iris, for whatever reason, whether her body is just fully adjusted to the mirror dimension to the point where now she can't be in the real world anymore. I hope there's a good explanation for that. But I don't know. It is kind of interesting to see that he did accomplish his goals. He did essentially get what he wanted, because that's not something that I thought was going to happen. I figured it was going to be, you know, everything works out in the end, and he does get Camilla and Singh through and realize the error of his ways and all that. But ultimately, yeah, I don't know where it's going to go next. Obviously, he destroys the artificial speed force thing that they created. I don't know what that means. I don't know if he no longer has speed anymore. I don't know. He got shocked by some sort of lightning after he blew it up, so I don't know what that means. Harrison Wells coming back. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, I love Tom Cavanaugh. I think he's a great actor. It kind of feels like the last episode now was just sort of... Not that it was pointless, because obviously a lot of those Harrison Wells are ones that we knew and grew to love and care about, and so seeing them all disappear, it is sad. But now we just have another Wells, and it felt like at the beginning of this episode it was a nice moment to say goodbye to Harrison Wells, and then all of a sudden, out of the grave of the one that Eobard Thawne killed, rises a new one. And I don't know, I hope they at least have a good explanation, but it sort of feels like we wanted to kill off Wells, but we still wanted to have Tom Cavanaugh around, so let's have this other one revive somehow, and bada bing, bada boom, he's still a part of the show. Good job. I don't know. It does sort of cheapen that emotional beginning of this episode a bit. So that's just my own personal opinion, but obviously there's a part of me that's excited we get to see more of them. So, but I think that's about it for these 3 episodes. Or, no wait, that was only 2. Ooh, wow, my brain's sort of gone, isn't it? On to the 3rd episode. I'll see you guys there. And now, episode 3, Mother. And here's the problem. You know, it's what I've been saying for the past 2 episodes. Didn't even realize this is how it all came to a conclusion, but you've not made Eva a sympathetic character. So at the end, whenever she's got to make this turn and become a good guy and save the day, basically, because that's the only way to stop her, it just doesn't feel earned. It feels like just sort of out of nowhere writing. So yeah, it just, I don't know. This was not a very well set up storyline. Unfortunately, a lot of the time we spent with Eva last year was in the Mirrorverse with Iris, pretending to be somebody that she wasn't when she was actually the one that kidnapped her. She gets out for like the final 2 episodes of the season last season, and then we see her kill her husband. We see her attack all these people. Beginning of this season, she starts, trying to pretend to be this Eva, and then 2 episodes later, after I thought there was going to be a little bit more, like maybe Team Flash was going to try to expose her, but that went out the window last episode, and then this one she just goes full attack on the city, and they stop her by basically telling her, hey, this isn't what you really want, even though it certainly seems like it's what she wanted, because she seems crazy, but I don't know. Again, like I said, just not very well set up. It feels like the writing team skipped a few steps to really show her descent and then her comeback. It felt like she never really did a descent. It was more so she was already down here in the craziness. And then that one episode where Barry exposed her, and she takes an even further step down, and then all of a sudden she's supposed to rise up all this way out of nowhere. And it just, like I said, not earned. It doesn't feel like it was properly paced through. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of how all this ended, but thankfully, at least, it seems like this story is done. So, I guess that is one good thing, because I was worried that Eva's storyline was going to take the rest of this season, and she was not that great of a villain. Honestly, this episode really showed her weakest part of her acting was trying to act evil. Like, she was okay last season when, again, she was acting like this scared woman who didn't really know what was going on and was just trying to get answers with Iris and just wanted out of this place. But when she suddenly came through and suddenly she put on this evil persona, it felt so awkward. Like, none of her lines were delivered with any conviction, unfortunately. And I don't know if that's just because the actress can't really play an evil character or if the directing just wasn't right. Either way, it didn't fit. But yeah, her whole story is done. The fact that she was able to just and bring everybody back that she had tossed in the mirror dimension was kind of BS to me. Like, I don't know. I guess because they had tried so hard to get people out, the fact that she could just basically snap her fingers and do it kind of felt sort of cheap in the writing. Especially because the scene with Joe and Cecile in the GCPD? Not GCPD. CCPD. This is Central City. Right. God, I'm trying to remember all these different cities and their police departments. But they were having this emotional, like, tense moment where all of a sudden Cecile gets put in the Mirrorverse out of nowhere, and her clone comes in and she's trying to convince Joe to go in there as well. And then all of a sudden they stop right before he goes in. And I'm thinking, okay, so if they stopped it right before he went in, that must mean that they're not going to be able to get people out easily. And then all of a sudden there's Cecile and she's just fine. And I'm like, then why was this a tense scene if she could just snap her fingers and make it to where, okay, so if Joe did decide to go in there, he would easily just be brought right back out. Like, I don't know. It's one of those scenes that in the moment seems tense, but then after it's all said and done, why was that tense? We just wasted all that time with them. And the solution was super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Thank you, Ryan George. So I don't know. It's just very, very odd that they decided to have those scenes. I guess maybe it was just padding the runtime a bit. We need a little bit more time, so let's have this Joe and Cecile storyline. And ooh, isn't it tense? He's about to get brought in. Ooh, no, Joe's about to be in there, and whatever. Iris, honestly, I kind of wish she would just not have any powers anymore. Because I don't know, anytime that storyline pops up, it feels weird. Because something about her just being a human that, obviously, she's married to the Flash, but something about her being a human still being brave enough to take on all these threats because one, she knows that Barry will be there for her, but also because she's not scared of those threats. There's something about that that is very powerful. So whenever they decide to give her powers, it makes her feel cheaper and less powerful in a way. Because yeah, that whole scene where she stops the glass and turns it back around on Eva, or not back around, but basically tosses it away. I don't know, felt kind of weird. I did like the moment though where Barry realized that she was the one that was gonna give him his speed back, because there was still a little bit of latent speed force in her. So I guess on the one hand, at least it makes that one storyline about her getting speed have a little bit more meaning. Doesn't mean I like that storyline any better now, but at least they gave it some meaning, and I did like their scenes together, because Barry and Iris are my favorite couple in the CW DC universe. They do a really good job writing them together, and I wish they would stop trying to make it where, you know, somebody is trying to do it without the other. Like, just let them be a couple. Let them show how strong they are together. Because, yeah, while obviously the whole know who you are before you start looking for your partner, like, there is something to that. A lot of the times people don't like to focus in on the fact that sometimes you do need that connection. You do need that person in your life that you can rely on for anything. Because by ourselves, let's be honest, we can't handle a lot of stuff. There's a lot in our lives, I know in my life specifically, that if I were trying to do it by myself, I'm not strong enough. I know I'm not. So, yeah, we always, there's that person in your life that I believe that you find, and that's the person you can go to. That's what true love is, and it makes you stronger. And I feel like they've done a good job showing Barry and Iris in that regard. So the moments whenever they make it seem like, no, Iris, guys, she's powerful even without Barry, it kind of cheapens that whole story and makes me feel like they're trying to force a message that doesn't need to be forced, in my opinion. So, what else? Harrison Wells, okay, you know, it kind of feels like they just sort of gave a reason if they wanted to have Tom Cavanaugh and have Harrison Wells show up. Now we have this one that can travel through time for some reason. He only can travel through his own life, which is odd. I don't really know how they're going to utilize that, and whatever. This just, it feels like an excuse to have him back on the show, but not constantly have him around. Because if he were constantly around, they would feel like, you know, well, this Harrison Wells is obviously very smart and can solve a lot of problems for them. So now this is a way for, if there's a problem that is too tough for them to solve, now you can have Harrison Wells pop up and be like, I have a solution. So kind of feels like a little bit of cheap writing, but we'll see how they decide to utilize it later. It did give at least Cisco a chance to say goodbye to him, which was a nice scene. The whole speed thing at the end, like the Speed Force going out, I don't know what this is setting up for. I'm guessing that 4 other speedsters were created in that blast. I have no idea what this means. I don't know what to expect from this storyline now. But I'm guessing that's going to be what the rest of this season is about. So yeah, we'll see what they decide to do with it. All in all, these first 3 episodes, you know, they weren't great. They weren't quite as bad as last season. They're still not on the same level that the standard basically that I have for The Flash. But overall, it was enjoyable. There were good moments in it. The acting in this show is definitely... Superman and Lois had some good acting too, but so far, of the CW shows that I've watched, The Flash is definitely the highest standard of acting out of all of them. Obviously, Grant Gustin and Candice Patton set that bar along with Tom Cavanaugh. But even the side characters, you know, Chester, Allegra in this episode, again, they're just showing, for the most part, they're good. You know, they handle those moments well. They can act normal. Just don't give Chester too many of those goofy scenes, and then I can stomach him fine. Also, Ralph and Sue, I forgot to talk about that because obviously I knew that Hartley Sawyer was no longer going to be elongated man at some point because of some of his tweets and stuff. So I'm guessing this is the point where he got fired, so that's why he got completely burned and we don't see his face at all. I don't know. I think they recast at some point, and I'm guessing, you know, elongated man, because he can stretch his skin and do whatever, he can make himself look like whoever. So I'm sure that'll be their reasoning, but I don't know. Sue and Ralph, they're fine as a couple. I still really liked Ralph as kind of the secret agent spy person, not elongated man. And I will say Hartley Sawyer's acting did contribute to that, so I hope whoever they got to replace him does bring that sort of the quippy one-liner with a little bit of charisma to it. I hope that sticks around because that is something that I did like about Ralph. But anyways, all that being said, I think that's about it for these first 3 episodes. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these first 3? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Flash reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.